live streaming. You coming up? Oh, you're buttoning up. Hello, everybody. Mic check, mic check. How we all doing today? Thanks for coming out. I have to stand over here for live stream. So we are streaming live today. Welcome, live streamers. Welcome, everybody in the audience. One more over. Oh, I messed it up. So don't do what I did. Don't try and stand in the middle. Stand over here. So yeah, that was the other note. Everybody stand over here, else you'll be off the live stream. So off the live stream, on the live stream. So, okay, well, welcome everybody to the Animation and Game Design Student Showcase. Students have worked really hard on all these projects throughout the whole semester. We do have some special guests here that are going to come up on stage and introduce themselves before we start with the animation project class. So I'm actually going to invite, let's do the first four over there, and then we'll save Fish Truck. So first four, come on up so we don't have everybody up, but starting with Scott, yep, and then all the way to Steven. Steven, come up too. So, and then everybody else, Jared, and yep, come on up.
I will just make space.
Tim will make space, so just come on up. You just have to come up and introduce yourself, just say who you are, that way folks at home know who you are and you know why you're here today. So yeah, grab a mic and yeah, much appreciated. Come all the way over, Scott. Fill in.
Hello, everybody. My name is Scott. I am an adjunct at Kent State Animation Game Design. And yeah, that's it about me, really.
Perfect. Thanks, Scott. You can actually go that way. Exit stage left, is that right?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Nina Murata, previous level designer on Call of Duty, current AI gameplay designer at VC Visual Concepts on WWE 2K.
And alumni.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, alumni.
Hello, I'm Josh. I am a producer over at Activision, so I currently work on Call of Duty. I've worked on Fortnite as well, and with IPs such as Marvel, Star Wars, Family Guy, Harry Potter. I could go on, but it's not important.
It is important. It is important.
Hey everyone, I'm Jared Huntley. I'm a senior lead optimization engineer at Alchemy Labs. Previously, I was lead programmer on the Peabody Award-winning game We Are OFK.
Woo! Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Wallace. I'm a recent grad at Kent, so in this major. So, yeah. And I am an AI programmer at Square Table Games currently on Soul Spires. So,
woohoo!
yeah.
Thank you. All right. Next up, I'll take it actually. Fish truck, come on up. I didn't think we could fit everybody on stage, so we'll just do it in sections.
Hi, I'm Sam Vogel. I'm a creative director on our Our Town game at Fish Truck Studios.
Hi, I'm Cassandra Wynn. I'm the lead art director, and I do UI and also project management on Our Town.
Hi, I'm Drew McDowell. Currently, I do sound design and music for the game.
The game.
Yeah.
The game.
I thought someone said what it was already.
It's Our Town.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Reen. I'm the lead programmer at Fish Truck Studios for Our Town. Grayson is also a member of this for our marketing, but he's on a call right now.
So he'll be in shortly. All right, thank you. Well, round of applause for everybody that came out and spent some time. Appreciate it. Just a little behind the scenes of what animation project class is. Oh, I have to stand over here. I keep floating towards the center, but basically the students work in an animation production pipeline. Tim and I work really hard on this class together. We try to, as much as we can, to simulate what it's like to be in a studio. So the students do weekly critiques throughout the whole process from pre-production, production to post. And they work really hard throughout the whole time that they're working on this project. There's lots of technical and creative problems that they have to solve, and they have about 14 weeks to do it. So some of these animations are upwards of 3 minutes. So to do a 3-minute animation in a group from 5 to 6 people in 14 weeks is pretty incredible. So yeah, we're really excited to share these, and there'll be a short Q&A at the end. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming out. Group 1, come on up.
Do we introduce ourselves first? Yep.
Yeah, if you want.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mackenzie Franks. I was the director, animator, and lighting on this.
Hi, I'm Emily Luxembourg, and I was the animator and the lighter.
Hello, my name is Jackson Stutler. I was the production manager, concept designer, and an animator.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Williams. I did animation and lighting.
I'm Chase Roman. I did animation and some lighting.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our presentation of Warrior Mouse. We used a limited animation so that we could focus on the storyline. We made a model sheet of our mouse and the assets so that we could try to keep it as consistent as possible throughout the entire animation. There was supposed to be more. Okay. And then I worked on small details like the Warrior Mouse poster that the mouse uses in his house for a little decor that is later referenced back in the animation as to what he's going to do to protect other mice.
Hi, the first thing I created for this project was the Warrior Mouse title screen, and it helped set the tone for the personality of the story right from the start. Next, I animated a short scene where the mouse grabs a bag off the wall and heads through the hole. I completed this pass in a short period of time, focusing on expressive movement. It really pushed me to work efficiently without losing the charm and storytelling of the moment. And I also designed the mouse home to feel warm, safe, and lived in. I reused the same furniture and asset pack from the main house to keep it visually connected to the larger world. It was important that the space didn't feel isolated or cold.
Hello, I did a lot of the animation and the lighting for the scenes that took place under the stove. Something I wanted to focus on. Oh, I'm so sorry.
You're all good. I came up with the original story base as well as the house design and the mouse design. What inspired me to do this stuff is my roommate's black cat. As you can see, I call him Fat Boy. Another thing was my kitchen and dining room. So you can see a little picture right there. Also for the mouse design, I used inspiration from Tom and Jerry as well as Pinky and the Brain for our mouse design. Our house assets that we used was a 3D model from Just Create, as well as for our cat rig, we used Little Kitty from Double Dagger Studios.
Sorry, I messed up the timing. I did a lot of the scenes that took place under the stove, the lighting and the animation. Something I wanted to focus on in terms of lighting was when the mouse was fighting the cat, I wanted the lighting to be brighter because it's a triumphant moment, and to make the lighting a little darker when the mouse sees the bodies because he's scared. And yeah, that's all for me.
I worked on the 3D animations as well as some of the lighting in the final scenes. For the animations, I focused on making the animations fluid and able to be timed well with the jokes and the gags.
You're ready.
Hello. I want to say first the lighting. I really enjoyed the lighting. It looked really nice. Is this better? Okay. I really enjoyed the lighting. I think it looked great, especially with like the interaction between the 2D and the 3D. One thing I did notice was like the rate of the animations. Did you guys have any issues with like getting more frames in between shots or anything to kind of match that 3D frame rate?
Yeah, we had some issues with putting the 2D on top of the 3D to combine them together.
Okay.
I just have a quick question about the animation, if you split up the work at all, specifically with the mouse. Like, did you have one person do the mouse and one person do the cat? Or would you have two people do the mouse and all that stuff like that?
Okay, so we split up the work based on shots. So like I did a lot of the scenes that took place under the stove. I believe Emily did all the shots that took place in the house of the mouse. And yeah, so that's how we split up the work.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi, so I had a question. In some of the concept art, we saw kind of more of a detailed, kind of more like anime-styled eye for the mouse. Was the style change in the final product a stylistic choice, or was this more of like a constraint thing?
What came about of changing the eye was we made so I made the concept, and then Kenzie took it and made little sheets so that we could split them up. So it was just like going from one style to another, just to make it easier for everybody else.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh.
Hello. All right, so first off, great job. I think you guys definitely, I can see like where the priorities were in terms of being able to tell the story, and I think that works very successfully. Like you heard people laughing. Like it's a very communicable story and understanding what's going on and the motivations and things like that. So that's great. In terms of the animation, I noticed a couple of parts where I think the resolution of particularly the mouse when he's takes up more of the frame is kind of low. Is that something that you guys struggled with in terms of trying to size him up correctly? What were you guys using for your assets?
We used a bunch of different stuff. So some of us used Photoshop, and then I know some used Krita as well as, I'm trying to think, Procreate, if I didn't already say that. So I think there might have been some issues with that. And especially once we made the assets, like I had answered before, sizing those up to get them bigger might have caused it to be a little crunchy.
Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to ask is, what was the creative choice between having a 2D and 3D?
I think we all kind of just decided that we wanted a mix of 2D and 3D and felt that Ant the cat would look better as a 3D model since he has a lot more movements and facial, and I feel like you needed more 3D to show what he was doing. And then the mouse, a lot of time, is kind of just static. So 2D just seemed to work better.
When I was looking for models, it was kind of hard. We wanted to spend more time on the story and telling the story rather than making the assets. So like we got the assets for the house, we got the assets for the cat. But we came to the conclusion that it would be easier just to animate 2D mouse rather than animating a 3D mouse.
Awesome, thank you.
Hey, so that ending took a turn. The one thing that really stood out to me was that the animation styles between like the almost stop motion of the mouse and the cat being 3D, I don't know if that paid off. And I think the one thing that I would posit is that if you were going to keep in that style, there was a lot of ways that you could have done like anticipation, like, you know, he hits the cat and then you just take a beat, then he gets eaten, right? Like, I think that could have like worked well with the 2D versus 3D. But I'm curious if you had any thoughts on having more anticipation in your animation with 2D versus the 3D.
A little bit. A little bit, yeah, we had thoughts like that. That's just kind of how it played out, I guess. And with the timing.
All right, thank you. Yeah. If you do have critique, don't feel like it has to be a question. You can go for the critique. Yeah. We're starting with the video first, right?
Yeah.
What are you reading?
Just a fairy tale. Hi, sorry. Hi, I'm Rory Thornton. I was the director and the lead writer. We decided to do this animatic based on an original story of mine about a prince who feels overshadowed by a more competent older sister, so hires an eccentric dragon to kidnap him. With the main theme being that it's okay to not be good at the things society thinks you should be.
Yeah, and while I was creating this storyboard, I aimed to preserve the cozy slice of life tone of Rory's original animatic while deepening the bond between the two leads through their shared moments. I used subtle facial expressions and affectionate gestures in each storyboard frame to clearly help showcase that. And yeah, we chose to set the entire short in a single room to scale down the original scope of Rory's animatic while allowing us the time and creative freedom to focus more on making the kitchen feel truly lived in. Early on, we also decided that we wanted to use 2D animated effects for sequences that were too complex to animate in 3D. And we felt that, you know, compared to like particle simulations, it helped to enhance the oh my god, yeah, it enhanced the storybook kind of feel that we were going for, and it was also easier.
Hi, my name is Madalena Chivari, and I was a concept artist and a set designer for this piece. Like the 2D effects, the concept art was composed of simpler drawings with flat coloring, as that worked best with the aesthetic of the animation. And I based the concept art for the room off the assets we had already acquired to make it a space that felt cozy, quaint, and lived in. The Prince and Dragon basically live in the kitchen. This is a space where they are often in, and it's fundamental to their relationship.
All right, I'm Maya Copeland. I worked on some 3D textures and 2D asset creation. I also made the poster. We divided the shots evenly between us and worked relatively independently on the animation itself, but we had to make sure that we were frequently checking in and comparing notes with each other to make everything cohesive and fit together well. Some things we really focused on was how to animate the dragon as a non-human character. We paid a lot of attention to his ears, tail, and wings, giving him a lot of personality and some fun movement, making sure he didn't feel stiff. We also focused a lot on keeping the prince very soft and fond towards the dragon. There was a lot of attention paid to his facial expressions and just keeping him very soft and natural.
Hi, just want to say congratulations on presenting, of course, to everybody. There is definitely a lot of passion in this project. All the artwork that you've done, it's a personal story that Rory has already written, and I love seeing that. I love seeing students take things that are personal to them and bring it into their portfolio work. One thing I did notice that I want to point out is at the beginning when the dragon is chopping the tea leaves, you have him kind of pantomiming, cutting it, but it's a very close shot. For a shot that close, I would rather see you actually take the time to make the cuts physically, and that was also included in your animatic, so it kind of feels like a regression in, you know, the display of what's going on in the animation work itself. So just keep that in mind, that when your shots are close, you can't really fake stuff like that very well because it is very obvious.
I agree. I think if we had more time with the project, I would that's one of the big things that I definitely would go back and fix. But yeah.
Hey, you know, short and sweet. I liked it. You know, the characters move well. It's got a good concept. It's, you know, straight to the point. The one thing that I would have done or would have liked to see, I would have liked to see like the you play up the dragon a little bit more, because it's a, you know, household dragon. Like maybe the tea's not warm enough and, you know, fire breath, right? Something along those lines. It would have like given him like a little bit more character, but overall, like short, sweet, to the point. It was good.
Hey, great work, everyone. I really enjoyed your use of like depth of field, and when you shifted the focus, that was really great. I think the smoke effect, the 2D smoke worked. I think you could probably experiment with dropping the opacity so there's some transparency, and that might help it. blend into the shot a little bit more. But one thing I think you could experiment with is, I know you mentioned you kind of had subtle like facial animations. I think you could actually go bigger with some of those at different moments, like when he pulls the cookies out of the oven, having a big kind of pause there, or when there's the shot of him just kind of looking, maybe having like some type of hearts or something. But just, I think you can hold on those shots a little bit longer and have just kind of a bigger moment to just kind of sell those moments a little more.
All right, yeah, great job. I enjoyed it. I think the animation on the dragon was very well done, so props to whoever did that. A lot of my critiques probably already said. The only thing I noticed was the like the dust effect kind of played into 2 shots. Just make sure whenever there's a cut, if you have any like overlaying effects, just cut the effect, make it something different, just so it doesn't play over into the next shot.
Hi. Yeah, it's adorable. I love the story. It's very cute. I've seen snapshots of the progress on this, so it's really great to see the final product. Your texturing work is really great. I love the lighting. It's very cozy looking and very, like, you're able to see a lot of the details, which I think is really great. I do love that you utilize the full breadth of the dragon rig, seeing like their wings move and like their ears kind of flutter about and their tail move. That's really great. In terms of critiques, the little bit that you had shown of the animatic, one of the things that I really liked and I would have liked to see more in the final product is that there's a lot more camera movement that I think works better with drawing the person's eye and watching it. So I probably would have liked to have seen more of that, but I know that in working in a 3D space, it can be more difficult, especially if it's your first time.
So I want to echo real quick some of what was said in the critique. I thought this was really good, and I think it was really smart that you kept it as small and as tight as you did. It made it so that you made a complete thing, and it's not really lacking in any way. Most of the feedback that you're getting is like just details, and that kind of means you did it. Right? Because it's like, here you have this awesome thing, here's how to make it more awesome. So I hope you take some of those, because I think this is a very nice portfolio piece for a set of animators to have. And I think it does show what you can do if you do keep it concise, you keep the scope small. I think the idea of having it in a one room makes it nice. Like great plays take place in one room. Right? So it's very smart. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for the critique.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's not pass it down the line, but it practically was this time. Yeah, good job. That was well done. Thanks. I'll be the tall person blocking your view.
Hi, my name is Destiny Peterson Lee. I did the concept art, storyboards, and animated sequence 1.
I'm Charlie Helms. I was the writer and producer for Magic Havoc, and I animated sequence 2.
Hi, my name is Morgan Campbell. I was the director for Magic Havoc, and I did lighting comp and animated sequence 3.
Aha. Huh? Huh?
Oh. Hmm.
Before working on anything, we started with the concept art. While we all did a portion of concept, I took Morgan's original concept for the fairy and started working on the main character, Ruth. Morgan took my design and used elements to make the girl you see in the final project. After Charlie wrote the script, I started working on the storyboards. With nothing really changing from the script, only adding a few more visual elements to make the story flow better and be more appealing. Load. At the end of production, I made the title, the logo, and the logo. The top one you see is the original, the middle is an alternative that I made, and the bottom one is the final version that you see in the final film.
Taking the log line proposed by Morgan, the Magic Havoc team started brainstorming, coming up with ideas, and I took those and formed the beat sheet that you see here. And finally, the script. The only part of the script that we reworked was originally Ruth's second wish was going to be for a dog, but we decided to simplify it so we wouldn't need to add a third character. As a producer, I also set up our Google Drive and Kitsu to ensure we had an organized workspace for us to share files and progress within the team. Since we are completely 2D, we also adjusted the schedule to fit our pipeline better. Here you can see the final 2D pipeline breakdown made by Destiny. The beginning of our process was very similar to our 3D classmates, starting with the script, then the animatic, and the shot list. But as we went on, we realized we needed more passes, less time compositing and rendering. For the backgrounds, I started by modeling Ruth's room very roughly in Blender, based off of Morgan's concept art. This allowed me to pose the camera in Blender, take a screenshot from the desired angle, and create a sort of 3D sketch. You can see a bit of the breakdown process here. Once I did this because it made it much easier to draw the correct perspective, and once I had the base down, I could draw over it, adding details to bring the space alive. Morgan taught me this process.
In order for us to be able to put this project together in the short time frame we were given, we decided to animate part of the characters using vector puppets. I created these by first hand drawing out the model sheets, then going over each body part with vector art so that they can be moved individually, and then later have hand-drawn animation done over top. Since this wasn't a very traditional animation method, I made sure to take the extra time to make a detailed guide for my team, outlining the process for animating the puppets along with using our selected software, Clip Studio Paint. Once we animated these puppets, we went over each shot by doing hand-drawn animation of the face, arms, and legs of both characters. Not having to hand-draw the bulk of the characters gave us extra time to make our animation more expressive and detailed, along with helping us keep the characters consistent and on model in each shot. After all of our animation was finished, I exported each shot as image sequences and loaded them into Adobe After Effects to do my lighting, compositing, and VFX. The lighting was based on color scripts I made earlier in the process. I wanted the film to be colorful and fun, even in the moodier scenes. Once Charlie was done with the line art for the backgrounds, he sent them to me to paint and add into the final comp. Now we're opening up to question and answer.
Hello. Yeah, just starting off,
style is great. Your process was very detailed. I like to see that. It was very, very comprehensive in everything that you wanted to do. And there's a lot of great polish here. Especially I like how you used color and used a color script in your process, because I feel that it really helped align the mood of each, story beat as it went from beat to beat. Just having the color of the scene change with that. One critique I had is regarding the timing of a lot of shots and a lot of actions. It felt like everything was a little too quick, just going from action to action. It felt like that at times that it was a little inconsistent. Some things held a little bit longer than other actions, and you're not able to catch up with what's happening in the scene. But beyond that, I just really liked it. Really like the compositing work that you did as well. That looks very clean, very nice. But yeah, you guys did a great job overall.
Thank you. I want to echo what Scott said. To be honest, at the end, I looked at Scott and said, I'm confused. I think a lot of it was the timing. I thought some parts were a flashback. I wasn't really sure what was going on. So pacing is something that I would definitely look to improve on. But I do want to say that this shows an extreme amount of mastery with various softwares. I mean, bringing it into After Effects and doing all of this work is incredible. And like Scott said, having a color script. There's so many, even professional animations that don't have that level of cohesiveness. And it is very admirable, especially as the producer, showing your Google Drive and everything like that. It shows that you were very, very meticulous with getting this done. And I think that that is something you can hold on to and bring forward.
Yeah, so I've done a lot of these kind of reviews, and as a producer, that's the first time I've seen organization on a student project like that. So I'm gonna give you the tip of the hat for that. Same thing on the timing with everybody else. I also would have liked to have some words, just something said. You can only go so far with and and right? But yeah, it seems very well organized and, a master of the software.
Real quick, because a lot of their feedback echoed what I would say. I'll give you a specific example on the timing. At the end, you had the plant go haywire, and it showed the plant pot start to shake, and then the plant came out. You didn't have that for the tornado. It's just sort of breeze. Oh, a tornado. It's it would have been nice to have a shot showing some papers start to get whipped up, and then a tornado. So it's that kind of stuff. But yeah, all that other stuff that's really good. And then the color script. I have taught color script for years in animation theory, and it's always yeah, lighting, whatever, cool idea, but water's blue, okay? No, you did that, and it added to the emotional impact, and I really hope everybody out there doing animation stuff sees that and see what effect it can have, because that was really awesome. And then yes, process.
Yeah, great work. This is really impressive for a team of 3. It sounds like you had a really smart pipeline, which is really awesome to see. I really liked the lighting, when the spell book, she had the lighting shining up. And then, yeah, just, kind of echoing the feedback on the pacing. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're working on a project, you're used to seeing it, you know how it goes. And so sometimes, when somebody's viewing it for the first time, they don't have all that context. And so sometimes, just showing somebody who's never seen it before and getting that feedback is really important, because when you're working so closely to it, the pacing might seem fine to you, but for somebody who's trying to absorb it for the first time, it's a little bit different. But great work.
Thank you.
My name is Logan Jackson. I am the director.
My name is Victoria Farrell. I was the 2D animator.
My name is Ian Rosillo. I did a lot of the modeling and materials.
My name is Benjamin Brown. I did animation, lighting, and comp.
And this is Freya.
It's just me.
So the story of Freya is based on an animatic I made for another class, featuring my own version of the character in a slightly different story. While the main beats are the same, we took some time to figure out the best way to convey the story to our audience, and our solution was the use of mirrors. This made Freya a story of reflection both metaphorically and literally. Since we had so much of the story laid out for us already, that gave us a lot of time to focus on previs, getting the shots to both look and feel the way that we wanted. But the most important part of pre-production was recording animation reference. We spent almost a full day together just recording each shot, and it really helped us figure out the movement and the emotion.
For the 2D, we decided that we would like our shadow Freya and reflections to reflect that this is Freya's perception and not reality. So I put a lot of effort into making sure that our shadow Freya was a exaggeration and caricature of Freya herself. And to differentiate them further, I made Shadow Freya in a more line-a-cut style and Freya in a painting style because Freya is the mid-tones to Shadow Freya's extremes.
Because our story is tackling self-perception and identity, we had two distinct characters that both reflected one person. So to create that connection between them, we used painted normals to give that 2D aspect to our model and to better bridge the gap between the self and the other. For that, we did that in Blender to be able to paint in object space and convert that to tangent space to put into Maya. Then for the dream world, we wanted a vacant ocean with nothing but Freya and the mirrors. To convey that, we wanted 2D ripples, and to achieve that, we ran a fluid simulation in Blender and used the height coordinate to separate the white and the transparent to create the image sequence for the ripples that we would import into Maya.
Okay, so we have a color, right here, a color lighting script. So we have a dream sequence that uses monochrome colors with a pop of blue and red depending on the mood. And then as you get to the bedroom, it's more grounded colors to separate. And then this is the progression of lighting shots. So with multiple iterations through the critique process, we were able to make changes quickly to get the look that we were going for. And then this is the compositing. So this is like our most complex shot. Basically, it's just layers stacked upon each other. We wanted to really hone in on the 2D and 3D elements interacting with each other. And the top left is what we started with, and then the middle bottom is our final shot. And then for interpretation, we really wanted to keep it open to interpretation. So we wanted to know what it, we wanted to basically allow the viewer to bring their own story into this. So we just wanted to know what it meant to you guys. And then we'll open up to question and answer.
Hi guys. First off, I want to say that I think this is absolutely beautiful. I really like what you said about Freya being the midtones to the shadow. I think I've been an artist for my whole life, and that really hit me. Like, yeah, that's a great way to put it. I think that this showed a lot of really creative use of like the software. Like, I wish our friend who is a tech artist was here, because he would have gone crazy over the ripples. I thought that was super, super creative way to do that. One thing I do want to mention, and I know that this is hard, but this is becoming a reoccurring theme, when we're mixing 2D and 3D, when we think about popular IPs that have done this, like let's say like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, it was only really successful because the frame rates match. And I understand 2D is a lot of work. There's a reason I'm not an animator. But that being said, it does look very stilted, and it kind of is a little jarring and distracting when your frame rates aren't matching. So perhaps we cut down on the number of 2D sections. That way we can have enough frames to match the 3D frame rate. Otherwise, I totally love this. It's great.
I definitely agree. We took something huge, and we're really trying to keep the quality of each animation the same, even if that meant that might not be the best.
Part of our plan, we did initially, believe it or not, plan for more 2D, but we realized very quickly that that was not going to be feasible. So that is why we really focused in on getting the 2D painting over the 3D models for some of the shots. And that was a very fun addition, and I feel like it did help out with the workload. But still, I would say if I had the opportunity, to do this again, I would have planned out our 2D workflow a little bit better to account for that.
That being said, real quick, the way you discussed some of those 2D pieces, especially the mirror pieces, and kind of drew in like art history and art techniques into it, I thought that was really good. Again, I think it shows bring that outside influence, not just working with like other cartoons and other video games and things like that, actually going out beyond the topics of the major itself, and it really adds a weight to it. I thought that was a really nice touch, and you discussed it really well, talking about those influences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work. I really enjoyed the animation, especially like the secondary motion with the hair. I think the hair added a lot of personality to it. I also really liked, there was the kind of shadow realm, and then once she appeared in her bedroom, there's a pop of color that was, yeah, a nice kind of surprise. And I agree, with the comments on the frame rate with the 2D and 3D. If this is something you could have experimented with. sometimes you can use something like maybe like a static effect or like, you know, the white noise on like a TV to kind of mask a little bit of the, you know, difference in frame rates. I mean, I wouldn't recommend leaning into it too much, but something like that might afford you a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, absolutely.
Yeah, echoing just what everybody said. The little subtle details like her hair moving, really great. I do have a question about the 2D. Was it absolutely necessary to get the message across?
I thought it was pretty important. I wanted us to have a very clear like differentiation of how Freya perceives herself, and I felt it really showed it in that like it's a completely different dimension. So like.
Yeah, so I do think it was helpful. It gave us a little bit more freedom to work around the limitations of both the rig and also the space that we wanted to create. We made the bedroom completely. Ian mostly made what was in the bedroom by hand. So being able to use the mirrors as sort of a in the 2D style to show that a little bit more freedom of what we wanted to show with the character. I feel like it was worth it and helpful, but I do see where you're coming from with that.
So this is not a critique, but just something to think about. I think you could have gotten the same message across by using 3D for the whole thing. Because if you look at it this way, you had to spend, I assume, a couple weeks hand drawing Freya, where you could have maybe spent a week or two spinning off the 3D model, making a dark version, and then spent a majority of the time that you would have done doing 2D on, you know, polishing up a lot of that animation even further. Again, that's not a critique, just something to think about.
Yeah, kind of to go off of that, I think also you just need the hard line between the real world, which in this case is like the 3D realm, and then her self-perceptions of herself, which is, it's clever to do it in 2D because that's what they are. They're two-dimensional, very archaic views of what your self-worth is. I think there's too much overlap in like that realm of, well, there's 2D stuff and there's 3D stuff. Like, I would have really been impressed if it was exclusively 2D in that space. Really drive the style, push it super far. You can have it be at a much lower frame rate and still do a lot if your style is really cool and really breathtaking. Like at one point you have a color script up there. That color script was so good. It like emulates such an interesting like mood and atmosphere that I thought, and so I would have loved to have seen something like that pushed farther in the 2D setting.
Thank you.
I'll give you a precedent to think about if you want to take another pass at this, and like, because I think it'll be a nice portfolio piece to clean it up. Watch the Take On Me music video, because that does go all in on the 2D. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then Snake Arcade. Oh, that's awesome. Even more awesome than I expected.
Is this working? Yes, it is. Okay, look at that. All right, hello everybody. My name is Tony McNeil. I am the director for Corporate Nightmare and the voice actor of Abrams.
My name is Jacob Tansky. I was the production manager and animation lead.
My name is Jordan Kopp. I was an animator. I did some lighting and I made the poster.
My name is Carly Butler. I did a lot of pre-production and the lighting and set design.
My name is Emily Holub. I was the sound lead, and I did editing and concept art and lighting, and I am the VA for Calvin.
Morning, eh?
Morning, Cal.
You see the new training we gotta do?
Don't even ask me about it.
Boss says we gotta do it before Sunday. Wanna cheat off me?
Just slip all this work home. I got a huge pile of claims from the guild already, and I don't want to be here any longer than you do.
Hey, we have a lot of claims today, you two. No goofing off.
Ma'am, the offensive armaments plan only covers your weapon, your sword, the wizard staff, the dagger.
I'm asking why my shield isn't insured. When I bought the package, I was told that the armament would have been covered.
No, we did not cover the shield. The toys specify weapons and scrolls. A shield is not recognized as a weapon in the plan.
I said it is covered. I can hit a skeleton with the shield. It's a weapon.
Ma'am, if you would like to upgrade to our Paladin Package Plus plan, it will ensure all of your party's defensive armaments, including shields, helmets, cauldrons, chestplate,
Get back to work, Abrams.
potions, chain
A missing limb is considered a pre-existing condition if it's absent during the entrance to the next dungeon floor.
Can I speak to management about that?
I'm gonna transfer your call and we'll put you on hold.
Get back to work.
Hey, you want to know what we haven't done in a while?
Get back to work, you two, or you're fired!
All right, so swinging into pre-production, I knew for the story I wanted the core ideas to center around finding little joys in mundane life and to rebel against conformity. And with that, I wanted to tell the story in a modern setting with a fantasy insurance company using very strong character shape theory. For the script, I wanted the personalities of each character to be at the forefront, and with witty dialogue, silly voices, and goofy laughs. To fit this image, I had to rework the script to fit the core idea a few times, especially around the third act.
So for production, we wanted to make the first half feel a bit more dull and mundane to represent the office life, but in the second half, we wanted to make it more chaotic so that we could have a chance to do more dynamic animations. And then when we were doing the reference for the mouth movement, we realized that the amount of time we were given was a little short, so we decided to simplify the speaking to more of a Muppet style, so the mouth just opens and closes, and that gave us more time to work on other aspects of the project.
So for post-production, we actually had the opportunity to use OSC, which is the Ohio Supercomputer Center. This allowed us to speed up our render workflow. Once our animations and our renders were finalized, we actually brought our renders into Nuke to do some post-processing. This allowed us to add effects such as depth of field, color grading, and even the glow that's seen on the screen, which is in the boss's office. Nuke allowed us to make quick and necessary changes to our shots and our renders.
All right, these are some of the reference images that I used as guidelines for building the lighting and the set design, especially for the cubicle. And our main goal with lighting was to convey a feeling of a mundane, boring, somewhat depressing office setting, which we would then transition from a cold lighting to warmer lighting in the more upbeat montage scene.
And then we knew from the initial script that we wanted the dialogue to kind of carry the story. So we had the wonderful opportunity to work with the post-production sound team and use the recording booth. We did temporary dialogue for the animatic. And they liked our voices and they asked us to return as Calvin and Abrams. You know, we wanted, for music, we wanted kind of like an overbearing kind of elevator music, you know, and then transition to more like a silly yakety sax kind of style. And then we did actually get an offer from one of the French or the graduate classes that they wanted to do a French translation. And I'm really proud of how that turned out. And that will be on, I believe, the AGD YouTube page as well. So, yeah. And we'll open that to Q&A now, too.
Hi guys, number one, I love the outfits. I definitely think that what shines the most of this project is the passion for it. Your PowerPoint is, you know, themed along like the corporate kind of vibes, the outfits obviously. The epistolary content, like the poster and stuff, comes across as like actual corporate material, and I think that that really sells it as a whole project, and I think you guys should be proud of yourselves for that. I did see one thing that, and this is common. It's not like, oh my God, this is the biggest thing you've ever done wrong. No. When you have up close shots of them talking, I know you've mentioned that the rigs were kind of harder, and we simplified it to more of a puppet. But there were times that the audio and the puppet, like lip flap, were kind of desynced. There was one specific moment where one of the characters was saying closed and their mouth was actually closed. So make sure that you go through and watch the lip flap. I could tell you personally, for Modern Warfare 3, that was my job for about a month, was watching lip flap. So, you know, get used to it now. Do the mundane stuff because that polish will come through later.
Yeah, so we did receive the sound after the animation was already made, so we did our best with what we had to sync it up, but at the end of the day, we couldn't really go back and change a lot of things at this stage that we were in.
How's it going? First of all, I want to say I really like the world that you guys have. I think the office works well. It initially reminded me of a dinosaur office, if you guys know what that is. Kind of just these two non-corporate people just like with ties on, just doing a job that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I really like the world, but I think what could have exaggerated it more was, I guess, like the body animation. I think there were a lot of times where like the full body was stiff and then like kind of an arm would move up and down real quick, and that was kind of all there was. And I kind of wanted more from, even though like it's just talking and the dialogue's doing a lot of the work, I think body language can help accentuate that more as well. Like there was like the 20-second shot of the green guy just on the phone. I think what he was saying is really funny. I think if you add more like visual, I guess things to look at, I think you make that shot way more interesting. Because generally there's like a 7-second rule for like shots before it like should change. But with that one, I understand it's dialogue driven, but give the viewer something to latch onto in that time, not just kind of like a quick shift back and forth. But again, I do really think that the animation was a lot of fun. I think toward the end, you know, them having fun was very silly, and I really enjoyed it. But good job.
Thank you.
Great work. Having spent the first like third of my career working in a mundane office, I definitely related to that. It was a lot of fun. I think I would maybe like revisit that first shot. The green guy was sitting in the chair and the other monster was just kind of standing there and felt a little bit stiff and awkward for the first shot. So maybe having them both in chairs and turning around or something like that. And then I think it could maybe use another audio pass, just adjusting the mix some. There's such a big difference between the two characters' voices. I think you could do a little bit more to normalize that, but otherwise, great job.
Yeah, so, is it on? Okay. So I guess echoing a question that was asked by one of the previous groups, why did you go with 3D?
3D was something that we are all very passionate in learning, or continuing learning how to use. And we figured that 3D allowed us to sort of get that mundane sort of drab feel more than 2D could, because when I imagine 2D, I imagine like bombastic, like anime-inspired stuff. And 3D is a lot more, I feel, down to earth when I watch it. We also found a bunch of models that fit our sort of vision of that mundane setting.
We liked the fantasy like monsters. We had like the goblin, we had the big dragon lizard guy, we had the witch as the boss. We found the models that we liked and we rolled with that and built on that.
Yeah, just because I think for a piece like this that focuses more on dialogue and comedy, they're not really moving a lot outside of the more goofy section with them just sitting and talking. And if you're already having issues with trying to get the lip flap right, like 2D is your friend there. That's not a lot of frames. You could do a lot of even just funny side gags when there's not a lot visually going on. If you have a bunch of like kind of funny things in reference around the office space, like I saw a couple of them, but they weren't in frame for when it was very extended periods of times. Like there was one that said like keep calm and there's a bunch of text. Like I would love, if there's nothing happening really on the screen, I would love to read all that and see like what the joke is, but it's never in frame. So for that, I think 2D, I would be interested to see what your animatic looked like for 2D.
Real quick, one thing that I think 2D could have helped with, or so asset choice. You had a goblin that was very rounded, very cartoony, and had very high resolution textures, and you had a very chunky Quake, not maybe a little newer than Quake, but like kind of realistic-ish looking dragon monster with like some blurriness to the texture, and they do really feel like they're from two different universes, and they share a cubicle together. I think I would have liked a little more care picking stuff, and then I saw the animatic, and I'm like, I want that brown blobby monster guy. Like he feels more like what's his name from Monsters Inc. Yeah, Sully, yeah, from Monsters Inc. And it's like, I feel like, yeah, I needed like a Mike and Sully, and that's kind of what they felt like, but they didn't feel like they were from the same movie.
Yeah, when exploring our model choices, we wanted to find a model that was what we wanted to use for it, but also within our budget. And we found a variety of extremes, like it was cheap, but it didn't really fit our vision. But we also found one that was like $70, but was too expensive for us to like justify purchasing. And we eventually compromised on the Liz rig to where it's like it's not that expensive, but it also fits our vision and fits the character shape language that we wanted.
Group 6, you're up. There we go.
That writing was great.
Yeah, that writing was ridiculous.
I got some notes for us. Cool. I was thinking that.
Right. Hello, my name is Dominic Vihar. I was the lead production manager for animation and lighting.
Hi, I'm Andrea Kennett. I was the director. I did the storyboard, the animatic, and I was one of the 2D animators.
I'm Yoav Israeli. I was one of the 3D animators.
I'm Quentin Jones. I'm one of the 2D animators, the character designer, the logo designer, and I made the poster.
I'm Luke Mangieri. I was a 3D animator and lighting.
Well, as you can imagine, since this is our first short animated film working together as a team, we were all a bit nervous or intimidated at first. Our best approach for the project for us was to start with the animatic, which our director, Andrea, helped us out with graciously. You can see some examples here. After which, I decided that the best course of action for us would be to separate our shots and frames into more easily digestible sections for us to work with. When we started using the site known as Kitsu, this process was made even easier with its useful built-in tools. Did it make some of these documents a bit obsolete that we made? A little, but I think it was still important to work on those documents early to get into that habit, as I think it was easier to have a solid pipeline to start with moving forward instead of working blindly in the dark.
Our first obstacle involved combining our 2D and 3D animations. At first, we couldn't get them to work. Sometimes the timing was off, the animations would break, but after trial and error, we decided it would be easier to just layer the scene instead of just rendering it all at once. We separated the cats, the background, the 2D sequences, and comped them all together in Nuke. I had the story in my mind for about 2 years, and the original idea was about the rat reluctantly taking in a kitten and raising it alongside the rats, but due to time restraints, we couldn't portray that, and instead it was about a rat helping an injured cat and befriending it.
I adapted the visuals to the animatics done by blocking key poses, refining the animation, incorporating movement, and collaborating with the team to ensure smooth transitions.
Originally with the character design, I wanted it to closely resemble the animatic, but then while also keeping the design very simple so that animation was easier. But then I realized that exaggerating certain aspects would make the characters appeal a little bit more, so I gave them bigger ears and added little hair tufts. I also wanted to represent the characters' warmth and kindness towards the cat, so I gave them a warm, earthy brown color scheme.
We did also use Nuke in our animation, and using that software had a more appealing look to our animation, and it also had a big impact on our lighting as well.
We can open up for questioning now.
All right, hi guys. Just get it out of the way that I am probably the biggest cat lover on the planet. So I love Little Kitty Big City, and getting to see this rig in use is just so much fun because I absolutely loved that rig. I want to say the pacing is very, very good. When it comes to camera cuts, when it comes to pacing, I feel that at times I felt like I was watching like a professional movie, like legitimately. It felt like the action followed the sequences well. It felt like we had enough time to look at everything around us. Overall, very, very well done. I did notice a few resolution changes, both in 2D and 3D. Some of the 3D scenes, like the one that is actually on screen right now, is a little grittier than some of the other ones, and that could have been a rendering setting thing that should have been universal across all machines. So like, let's say my machine couldn't do it, then you go and find somewhere else to do it. You do not change your quality because it is very, very noticeable. But otherwise, I think it was very well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, seconding on a lot of the timing and pacing, it felt really good. I love the mouse. I really wish the cat was in 2D. I definitely feel like that would have meshed well. But in terms of the ending, I want you guys to go and watch a short Ghibli film called A Sumo Wrestler's Tale. It's got a lot of the kind of same beats as you guys do, and the ending, you know, just really pays off. I think, you know, that could further make the animation like end on a great note. But overall, like, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great work. That establishing shot, great work with that. It reminded me of the 1927 Metropolis. Really fun short. I loved the shot of the mouse screaming. I think you could have used some more Foley and sound effects. Like whenever the mouse first tosses the cheese, there wasn't a sound effect for that. Or when the cat eats the cheese, you could have added like a gulp sound effect. And then when the mouse is trying to decide what to do, I didn't read that the cat was hurt, so I think you could have added something there, or even some 2D art over top. I think could have just sold that the cat was hurt, and that's why the mouse was considering doing something. But yeah, I agree. The pacing was great. It was funny. It felt great.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I may add, we did want to add a bit of a injury to the cat's paw, like maybe a scratch or two, but just simply due to time, we couldn't implement it.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing. I really enjoyed this. Just branching off of the having the cat be 2D as well. As it's in its 3D version, did you guys try to mess with the materials at all to try to get it more into the 2D theme, matching the mouse a little bit, or is that out of the box like cat rig?
In terms of editing materials, I think the only thing we messed with was the cat to get the other cat to be a different color. That's pretty much it in terms of that. We did also make our own props and texture them as well, such as the cat house you saw there and the little tables and plates they were eating on. So we messed with the textures in there with Adobe Substance Painter.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just thinking having the cat, just because it took me out of it a little bit, kind of finding, if you really needed it to be 3D, just finding a balance with the materials and kind of messing with those a little bit, just to match the 2D vibe and the environment it's around.
Hey, hi, hello, guys. Just want to congratulate you guys on working so hard on this project. I'm sure it was a very stressful semester for you guys, so be sure to pat yourselves on the back for that. I just want to say, I do agree with our panel of all the things that they said, but also I did think it was a bit of a shame not seeing that extra polish with putting the scratch on the paw, because that was a core part of your guys' plot line, and that leads to they're developing friendships. So unfortunately, even though it was a scope thing, I think that would have pushed it over the edge a little bit more. I think the reason for having the idea of having the cat being in 2D was because you have the storyline centered between two characters that are developing a connection and friendship, companionship with each other, that it would bridge that, or at least make it a little bit more cohesive with each other. But considering that you guys stuck with doing a 3D cat, I think when you're making those sort of choices, you have to push it as much as you can, or pay as much attention as you can when you decide to go 3D, because now you have these factors of, okay, well, I need to make sure the movements are as realistic as I can make it, or to the style that you guys intended for it to be. And I think there was a lot of more care and attention to the mouse, which I think was it was done very impressively. I love the life, I love the expressions and the shot setups that you guys had for it, that I feel unfortunately the cat just got the shorter end of the stick. But overall, you guys had a very cohesive story. And I love how you guys bridge the environment with the storyline as well, having using the boxes in the background, using it as shelter and things like that. So also, I'm not sure if anybody else has noticed, but I'm starting to think that with the games, there's probably going to be an FPS project. I'm starting to think that we're going to have more mouse characters for each one. But I think that's not a bad thing either. I think I'm just it's a trend. But with this one, I think you guys did a very great job with it. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
2 minutes from now. Yeah, so 5-minute break, and we resume in 5. So 3:33.